My name is Thomas Gabehart, and I will be doing my presentation over Jackie Robinson. So for the presentation overview, the biographical profile will be on slides 3 through 4. The social and historical context will be on slides 5 through 7. The impact on sport, which will be baseball, and society will be on slides 8 through 11. And then my references will be on slide 12. So to start, we're going to look at his early childhood and education. He was born on January 31st, 1919 in Cairo, Georgia. If you look at that picture on the left, I just have a little welcome to Cairo, Georgia sign. Him and his family only lived in Cairo, Georgia for 1 year. They quickly moved to Pasadena, California, where he would grow up. But he was raised by a single mother, Mallie Robinson. He did not have a father figure in his life. He had 5 siblings in total. One of his older brothers, was actually a silver medalist in the 200-meter dash at the 1936 Olympic Games. So he did come from an athletic background. And then they made that move to Pasadena, California, like I mentioned. For his education, he did well in high school. He excelled in sports, which earned him a scholarship to Pasadena Junior College, and he was there very shortly. He quickly went to a Division I school, UCLA, where he furthered his education and college athletic career after excelling at Pasadena Junior College, and then he also excelled at UCLA. Military service and minor leagues. So this was something I didn't know. I didn't even realize Jackie Robinson had served in the military. But on April 3rd, 1942, he was drafted to serve in World War II. He did really well in the military. He achieved the rank of second lieutenant. So he worked his way up and did a really good job, which is really awesome because you have to think for this time frame, he was fighting for a country, America, that wouldn't even fight for his rights as a black man, which is really awesome. But his time in the military was cut short. He was discharged after being arrested. He did not move from his seat on a segregated bus, which then led to him being arrested, which ultimately was a blessing for him because this got him some attention and got him in some media, which then, with his athletic talents and the attention, he was able to earn a spot in the Negro Leagues for the Kansas City Monarchs. He only played for 1 year, did really well, but the GM of the Brooklyn Dodgers, Branch Rickey, quickly had Robinson play on one of his farm teams, the Montreal Royals. And then he played a major role in orchestrating a lot of Robinson's MLB career. Segregation in America and baseball. So this was the peak of the 1940s. Racism and segregation were at an all-time high. You see the Jim Crow laws being put into effect. On that top right corner, that picture, it's a woman who's protesting, and on her sign it says, "The presence of segregation is the absence of democracy. Jim Crow must grow." So being a black American in this time was very difficult. They were faced with threats daily. People wanted them murdered just based off their skin color, which is absolutely insane. This was put into place, this segregation, due to the ruling of Plessy v. Ferguson. The principle that was created from that was separate but equal, and they applied that in any area of life they could. They made sure that they had equal rights, even though they did not, but they made that separate, segregated in every way possible they could. This wasn't just everyday life. This was also included in professional leagues. The MLB, they excluded black players since the 1880s. And so they divided the leagues. The MLB was full of white players, and the Negro leagues were full of black players. And that was the only chance where black players had a chance to play baseball. Now looking at the integration of baseball, Robinson made history on April 15th, 1947. He was the first ever black athlete to play in the MLB, so super awesome. He endured many things. He endured death threats, racial slurs. His own teammates didn't even want him to play, which I think is just crazy for me to think about his mindset, thinking about not even those that he's trying to win with want to see him succeed, which is crazy. The guy that I also mentioned earlier, Branch Rickey, the general manager, played a large role in this for Robinson. There was multiple athletes he could have picked, but he picked Robinson because he wanted someone that was not going to fight back to all of the adversity they were facing. And he also did it as well because he wanted to see the MLB integrated and for a competitive advantage because Robinson was a great athlete. So by Robinson getting integrated, this led to the integration of a lot of other athletes, not just in baseball, but in other professional sports to compete. So Robinson's symbolism in the civil rights movement, he was a major cultural icon for the civil rights movement. I mean, he represented everything that the civil rights movement stood for, standing tall in the face of adversity, being resilient, being hopeful that one day America would be better, and that is exactly what he did. So similar to his career, as Branch Rickey didn't want him to retaliate, this was similar to the civil rights movement. They were peaceful in their protest. They did not want to do physical harm to get their point across. And then in the top left of the slide, you can see Jackie Robinson with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. They both worked together to ensure that America in the future was going to be better for Black Americans by exposing the hardships and the unequal rights and opportunities that Black Americans had. They wanted to change that, and they both worked together doing so. So Robinson's athletic career was absolutely amazing. He did a great job in the MLB. His first year in the MLB, he won Rookie of the Year, which I think is awesome just for him to think through it all. He wasn't just worrying about his performance every game, he's worrying about his own life. And so for him to be able to do that was really awesome. He made history being the first ever Black athlete to win an award in the MLB. During his career as well, he's a 6-time All-Star, which is awesome. He then wins the National League MVP award in 1949, so only 2 years later after he's integrated, he wins that award, and then he then would go on to lead his team to a Dodgers World Series win, so he hasn't even been playing 10 years, and in 1955 he helps them win a World Series. Then in 1962, so 15 years after his debut, he then was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, so overall he had a very successful baseball career. So his professional sports legacy, he paved the way for generations of Black athletes to come. I mean, his impact today is still felt and seen. If you see in that top right picture, the MLB retired number 42 across the entire MLB, and you can see them honoring him. They do it on April 15th because that was the day that he made his debut. Every player wears 42, and then in that bottom left picture is him with his jersey retired with 2 other teammates. And his career wasn't just great for baseball and being integrated, but it sparked conversations about other aspects of life and that representation for the difference between white and Black athletes and just white and Black people in America in general, which still has a lasting effect today. His social influence and activism. So Robinson was a major proponent of the civil rights movement. He dedicated his life to making the life for Black Americans better. You can see in both of those pictures, he's in protest. He's with his family in that top right picture. He wanted life to be better and wanted people to have a better life than he did. So constantly he was advocating for change. He was very active, whether it be anything from economic opportunity, political change, whatever it was, he wanted to make it better. Like I said, he became a cultural icon, and he even participated in the March on Washington in 1963 himself. So his baseball career, as we talked about earlier, was very successful, but how he was as a person and the social influence he had was just as great, if not better, than his career, which is just awesome in general. Robinson's lasting impact and legacy. So for Robinson, he received 2 of the highest honors a civilian can receive. He received both of them, the Presidential Medal of Freedom and the Congressional Gold Medal. So just speaking to that in itself shows how much of an impact he had, not just 1 honor, but 2, which I think is really awesome. And Robinson's not just going to be remembered for being a great baseball player or making history by being the first Black MLB player to play. He's going to be remembered for changing the conscience of America. He changed how people thought of Black Americans, and also wanted to make those unequal hardships better and make it more seen in public so people would do something to change it. And so the impact Robinson had of speaking out and advocating for change, we see it all the time now with athletes. I mentioned Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James. Those are just two in recent years that have been very big, but we see it constantly now. People, athletes using their platforms to speak for change and advocate for that. They're not being scared of that, which just shows to the legacy that he has and his impact. But overall, Robinson will be remembered forever for his impact, legacy, and symbol of resilience. So, as I said, him making history, while it was amazing, while it was great, that's not just going to be what he's only remembered for. He's going to be remembered for so much more, as he changed so much for America. And then I just love that picture I put on the left with him with his family there, because family was something he valued as well. That was very important to him as well. And then these are my references. Thank you so much for watching my presentation.